Welcome everyone to the July Residents Council meeting. Nancy, the invocation.
Good afternoon. I have a thought for the day. Life doesn't allow us to go back and fix what we have done wrong in the past, but it does allow us to live each day better than the last. Let us pray. Dear God, thank you for this day, for the rain we need so bad. We are thankful for you, our newly decorated fellowship hall as we meet here today. We pray for those at Cedarfield who are sick, hurting, and need help. Let us be kind and helpful to each other. We pray for peace at home and in the world. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice in it. Amen.
Amy Chapman.
Good afternoon. Just a brief report highlighting some things. Occupancy is at 93%. We have had no move-ins in the month of July and none scheduled for August, but we anticipate September being a big month. We've already had 5 or 6 that have agreed to move in September. Monthly finance overview. We are finalizing the budget numbers for fiscal year 2024. Once we get the audited numbers, David will prepare to present those to you in a town hall meeting. But we've already started off June positively with income better than anticipated, and our expenses were lower than budget as well. Our team continues to monitor budgets daily and will diligently review these numbers with their teams to keep expenses down. Clinic renovations. Our clinic renovations will start on August 20th. The clinic team will be working over the next few weeks to create a temporary space in 2 vacant independent living apartments. The apartments are 472 and 473. They are directly across from one another. We don't anticipate an interruption in medical services, but we will be working with Dr. Palmore to ensure that residents who use her as a dentist will have their needs met either here on campus or at her off-site office as well. For those of you who don't know, the dentist office that is currently in the clinic will be moving permanently to the assisted living side of the building. EFIS and window replacement. The project is well underway. We are about 2 days delayed because of the weather this week, but we don't anticipate that affecting us too much in the long run. We want residents to keep us informed of their needs, and we'll continue to provide information that you need as we receive it from the contractors. So far, I've gotten some positive reviews from team members, from residents, and if we have any other concerns or anything that you'd like to share so that we could prepare for the next phase of the project, please don't hesitate to let me know. Medicare number. By now, everyone has heard that we finally received our Medicare number. Our nursing team is working through different things to make sure our ducks are in the row, especially when it comes to billing and getting admissions from hospitals. We anticipate having our first skilled care resident admitted on September 1st, and as you well know, we will take residents of Cedarfield as priority. D-Wing generator. For those who live on D-Wing, the D-Wing generator process of transferring over power to apartments and the wing in general will take place on the 31st. We're hoping for a cool day. The transfer of the generator to power the building will be in 2 phases. It should take about 10 hours. The first phase brings power to the building itself, so hallways, and the second phase will involve having electricians go into each apartment to ensure that the wiring is right so that if there is a power outage, those residing in D-Wing are on the generator. Lastly, just a brief overview of where we are with our medical portal. One of our residents a few months back came to us and suggested that we have a medical portal so residents and their family members could access their medical records remotely. Unfortunately, our provider of medical records, it's a company called Point Click Care, does not have that available at this time, but our IT department is working with another software provider, and Point Click Care, to figure out a way to integrate both programs so that eventually we will have that ability for you to access your medical records remotely. Once we determine how these two will work together, we will be establishing an online resident portal for both residents and families, and we'll be identifying some of you to help us as our test pilots for the program. We hope that this happens quickly, but I don't have a specific date at this point. But as dates come available, I'll make sure that we share that with you. Any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Wow, that is a big deal, because that hadn't existed up till now. You should have seen the minutes by now. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Move the minutes be adopted.
With the motion that minutes be adopted? All in favor? Thank you very much. My remarks are going to be very short. You received a flyer that told you that Pinnacle Living had bought Spring Arbor. And there have been many questions about Spring Arbor, about the plans that Pinnacle may have. So we have asked Chris Henderson, CEO of Pinnacle, and he will be here on the 7th of August at the town hall meeting, and not only give you a brief explanation of why and what he sees the market to be and so forth, but also be here to answer your questions. So within 2 weeks, you should be able to get some answers to what you've been asking in the past. Charlotte Bailey? Backward.
Good afternoon. VACRA had a members' business meeting on Friday, July the 19th in the Great Room. The purpose of the meeting was to inform membership of the efforts of the past 3 years to get Pinnacle to accept the resident on the board. We researched and developed a 3-year timeline of dates, events, and outcomes to share with the membership. We also wanted to emphasize that we work with a variety of issues for residents, including informational programs, rights of residents, encouraging transparency, and increasing membership to remain the largest VACRA community in the state. Each of the VACRA officers made a report, as well as the Vice President of Government Relations Committee Chair and the Program and Events Chair. We also heard from Resident Council President Frank Miller and Finance Chair Carol Marco. It was a full hour of information to keep the membership updated with the agenda of our Cedarfield VACRA community. Fire alarm. Our next meeting will be August 16th. The program will be on AI. Everybody, all residents are invited to attend. And I'd like to remind you that all the VACRA programs / meetings are held on the 3rd Friday of every month. So you don't have to remember the date. Just count 1, 2, 3, third Friday, I've got a backer meeting, and show up here in the fellowship hall at 10 o'clock. Any questions or comments? Thank you.
Denise McCoolin is not able to be with us today and tell you about the shop at 2300, so I'll read what she said. She said, "Wow, that's all I can say about Christmas in July sale at the shop at 2300. We had a fantastic week, setting record-breaking sales, freeing up merchants and dollars to go toward and exciting new items. Believe it or not, Christmas is just around the corner, and now we will be able to purchase plenty of gift items to help make your holidays merry and bright. We made $3,479, the largest in any 1 week in the shop's history." Ray Godman, Safety, and he's going to tell you about a new program between the Communications Committee and the Safety Committee. Delonte, if you'll drop the screen. Is he here? Oh, Tom. Delonte has left us.
We'll get to it eventually. Can you hear me all right? The Safety Committee and the Communications Committee have gotten together and began and created a campaign to increase resident awareness of behaviors that affect our safety. We will be showing slides on channel 974, calling attention to a wide range of activities that contribute to our mutual safety. We have given this initiative the name, the Be Aware Program. I want to make a comment. This is a very safe place. For all this conversation that I'm always having about safety, this is a very safe place. You probably couldn't be safer anywhere else in Richmond or maybe Virginia. But as long as we stay vigilant, we can stay safe. I want to thank Mary Esther Cawthorn for her help in getting the campaign started and for selecting the clever name Be Aware. Be, because we're going to be aware. And for the remainder of the Communications Committee and working with our committee, the Safety Committee, to get this thing started. Those of you who may have noticed on channel 974, we have been putting up some slides up on various subjects. One, preparing for the hurricane season, and give you a list of all the things you need to get in your kit in the event that we have to evacuate. Hopefully that's never happened, hopefully it never will, but good idea to be prepared. And we cover topics like traffic safety, wearing your pendants, fire prevention, fire alarms, emergency maintenance. A topic of some interest these days is driving indoor vehicles.
Can you slow down a little bit and speak into the mic?
Sure. I'll do my best. Holding it's probably the easiest thing to do. Anyway, they will have, every week we will put up another slide with another topic to help focus our attention on things we can do to improve and make ourselves safe and safer. And this is what the slide looks like. And this has to do, of course, with fire safety. Myself, at least me, I didn't know we couldn't have candles in our room at Christmas. So I had candles in my room in violation of the rules. So be aware, no candles, no open fire of any kind. All right, that's it. I hope you enjoy looking at our cute little slides.
Pat Sullivan, I think you're gonna talk about the Welcome Committee.
Okay. Wynn is happily with her family at the beach this week, so I am solo. I just wanted to tell you that on June the 6th, we had our first new residents dinner in Prima Club. We sent new residents who had moved in March, April, and May an invitation, and we had 15 people in attendance. There were some people who couldn't join us that night, so they asked if they could be rolled to the next event, and we said, of course. Steve did a wonderful job for us, had a special menu. Louisa Rucker did the flowers for our table, and the new residents had specifically asked if they could have a cocktail hour before we had dinner, because they said they wanted to have time to get around and talk to each other before we sat down for dinner. So I think everyone seemed to really enjoy it, and of course they enjoyed very much swapping their stories of moving in, which I guess we all have some. And we will plan to do another dinner in September. And as Amy mentioned before, we had so many people come in June. We actually had one person in July, but that was a total of 14 new residents. So marketing and we have been kind of hopping. But I did check with them yesterday with marketing, and they do say they don't have anybody scheduled to come in now in August, but that could change at any time. And they also expect, as Amy indicated, that this will pick up again in September. So I know they will be ready, and we will be ready also.
Nancy Springman will not be here either. She is not feeling well. But she asked me to tell you, for Wellness and Leisure Committee, that the Olympics start on Friday, and tomorrow at 12 o'clock is the barbecue luncheon and the drone Olympic rings. So they apparently have more than enough blue. So if you can, red, green, black, and yellow are what they're looking for.
But cancel the drone photo for later on.
Okay, the drone part has been counted. Nobody told me that. I appreciate it. The drone part, but you still come and eat barbecue if you want. This is everybody that said they wanted to speak, but let me do this. I sent a email around to the area reps, and I think, Ted, you were the one that did it last time, but are there any area reps here that would like to tell us a little bit about what's going on in their area or something special they've done? I think that does two things. It lets us know basically what's going on, but it also helps other areas know what kind of things that you might be doing that they would also be interested in doing. Are there any area reps that would like to say anything today? Nobody? Okay. One last thing. We did this last time. We have not been in this room together only one time since January. Is there anyone here now that has moved in since January? If there is, if you would stand up and just bring your microphone and tell us your name and where you live, and give these people a chance to come meet you before you leave. Any new residents? Boy, this is going to be a short meeting. Well, I'll leave you with my last comment. My next door neighbor is going to turn 100 in 2 weeks, and I think Nancy over here is going to be having a big birthday. Birthdays are good for you. It's statistically proven that the more birthdays you have, the longer you live. Anything, any questions or comments? Sally?
You still calling committees? You still calling committees? Because I signed up library.
Okay, I didn't get the argument. Yes, that's fine. No, come on up here, Sally. He didn't.
Don't worry.
Start.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to emphasize that we've had our decor enhanced in the library. And recently we had 5 paintings that you had known and seen around Cedarfield for years put into the library. And it was a Herculean task. And we had, under the leadership of Hamlet, who, if you've ever had the great fortune to work with him, you can realize how relieved I was to hear that Hamlet was in charge of these very heavy pictures, paintings, and they used a lift, and it was quite interesting to watch. I'll go off script a second. One of the greatest things, one of the men from maintenance was stuck on the lift while people ran out to do something. So he just stayed on the lift. And the next thing I realized, he had a book that he had picked up from about the 5th shelf, and he was reading it. So we have a very literate group. Just check this out. Go in if you haven't been in. And I do want you to know that we have a lot of new books. I believe since we have been giving away so many old books, a lot of people haven't been inside to take these new books away. And we have a great selection. That's on the small desk at the back of the room near the large print. And I want you to check out also something that Pearl had to say. And in case you don't know who Pearl is, she's our library dog. She's a little steel gray poodle belonging to Becky. I don't know I said that, Marion Fitzpatrick. And she tells you, if you walk out of my library, this is Pearl saying this, if you walk out of my library and you do not check out these books, your books, our books, I'm gonna bite you. It's getting, we're getting really serious now. This is going to be a real issue with us. Check out in your house, in your apartments again for missing books. We've had great success with books coming back. And I've even had one person come to me who probably was a Girl Scout. She was horrified. She found one of the missing books in her apartment after just being confident. Certainly it was not she that had done this. And then, very importantly, I need to bring attention to the balcony library. It has changed its complexion totally. It is no longer an attic for books that everybody just turns in and we don't know what to do with it, we don't want to throw them away. It has become a very pristine selection of topics. But it is also rather unusual. It's detached from the main library, but it's the nature of the wide expanse of what you could find up there in Ted's library. I call it War and Peace. Every war, every battle that America has fought since the Revolution probably is handled in the balcony library. But then you have, I want to read this, so some of y'all may not realize we have books on flowers, religion, devotional books, nature, music, sports, games. I'm sure I've left out something. So remember, War and Peace, 2nd floor balcony library. And also you can check these books out now, a rather old-fashioned system for now, a check-out sheet that's on the card catalog cabinet, that wonderful piece of furniture we retained from the old days. So just simply write your name in the book that you checked out so we can tell where our book went to. Because here's a big difference. Now, we have purchased some new histories at the recommendations of the historians that are controlling this library now. And we don't want those books just to walk because histories particularly are very expensive. So just check them out so we know where they disappear. And it's all fair for all of us to forget we checked out a book, but when you have help, you know, in life, you can have a second memory, and you'll just get a little notice to bring back the book. Any questions?
And we do have one more, your very favorite committee report, Jim Farrenhold and Diane.
Frank, thank you.
In our report, let me deal with capital projects first, just to bring you up to date. Amy had reported to us that the clubhouse renovations are pretty much on schedule. We anticipate completion sometime in August, hopefully by the middle of the month. Bathrooms are finished, some furniture has been installed, fireplace is working, moving right along. In the report, you will note that Neil has instituted a cleaning schedule for the various carpet and flooring areas throughout our property. Apparently it had been on a sort of dirt observed basis, and so we should have a steady flow of cleaning going forward. Those of you who visit the atrium, you may note that the wall where the TV is installed is close to being completed. There is a small area, perhaps about 8 feet wide, with 5 or 6 chairs located in front of it, where those of us who wish takeout can sit while our meals are being prepared prior to our picking up. That seems to be a pleasurable and nice feature for that little back wall, and it will continue to be used accordingly. On the various programs, Grab and Go, Kiosk, the new dining software program, should provide an upscaling of these multiple functions that hopefully we will be able to incorporate in these new programs. Some of which will, relative to the dining program, we hope to have a notation of everything from food values to calories to allergies to name it. So, and obviously it will need to be honed over time to meet what we would like to see, have, and understand what we're trying to provide to all of us. There will be, I've noted that there will be, quote, a limited number of super users for that. So those of us who might be nitpicky, well, probably won't have access to that. And you'll have to express your frustration to one of the 3 selected super users. On personnel, as you are aware, the executive chef position is open, and because Tyrone has elected to retire, having been here, I guess pretty close to all of his chef life. That's chef, not shelf life. Reluctantly, we're losing him, and I must admit that it's going to put a bit of a wrinkle in destination dining. I don't know how we would have undertake such, and Neil certainly expressed his feelings this week about that, because during our meeting we had selected a soft opening in about a week or so, That was then deferred another week, and then I'm here to tell you that that's going to be laid off even more. We agree that whoever is selected probably needs to have his or her imprint on how and when and where such an aggressive, interesting program would impact us. And so we are going to consequently have our communications subcommittee, which is peopled by Louisa Rucker, Terry Parsons, Denise Buckler, and Christine Watt. Hate to give their names because you will attack them all from time to time, but anyhow, you should know who they are. They're going to be our sort of coordinating, information gathering, sharing populace, if you will. And they are more than looking forward to keeping us attuned, abreast, and making sure that once we kick off, it will move well. On personnel, aside from executive chef, we also are looking for a pastry chef. So to say that it's going to be busy is probably truly an understatement. Staffing otherwise, however, seems to be fully staffed at the present, and as you might imagine, the sous chefs and the servers are really being understanding and supportive during this transitional, a little bit disruptive period. At the last Residents' Council, there were 3 questions from the floor which I was incapable of answering, and now I have the answers for you. The first was a question regarding the reduced size of the side portion to our meals. The answer relative to the question, was there reduced size? Yes. Reduced to 5 ounces from 8 ounces for our better. However, if that's inadequate, you certainly have the privilege, right, and are encouraged to seek more if you need. That might be limited on French fries and French onions, but anyhow. The delay in seating, a resident had noted upon entering the dining area that there were empty tables, yet he, she, they would not be seated. The answer should have been quite obvious, but for me to answer, but I didn't. But the availability is really based on the seating schedule, which the hostesses manage, and I think you would agree, pretty darn well, being as there's a nice flow. But just because the table is free doesn't mean that it can be handled and occupied immediately. The third question regarding the meat slicer being out of service. That really threw me. I had no earthly idea the meat slicer was out of service. But anyhow, it was. And it had been for some time. But the product was probably made in China and was out of stock at the moment. It came in, the meat slicer had been repaired, and we are fully operational now. That would be a synopsis. Are there questions or comments that you'd like to ask? Maybe. Seeing none, thank you. Is there any old business that needs to be discussed? Any new business?
Question.
I'm sorry.
Could we have a status report on the charging stations next to the generator.
That's important.
The question was, can we have a status report on the charging stations for the cars that will be charged at D-Wing? And that's part of the transfer over with the generator process that we're gonna be doing next week. So those should be online right after that. Any other questions?
Is there any update on the installation of the traffic light?
There is not, but if you drove in and out of our campus last week, you noticed that there was a lot of work being done. We've been told that it will happen in the month of August, but we were told that it would probably happen in the month of July as well. So we're staying posted on anything that happen there, and if we hear anything, we'll let you know.
How about signage?
Signage, the signage wayfinding for outside has been ordered. We are now putting together a comprehensive list for indoor signage. Yes, Ms. Acey?
Is there any update on the swimming pool? We've been without it for about 3 weeks.
Yes, we've been out of, the question was, is there any update on swimming pool? The swimming pool, for those of you who swim regularly, have noticed that we've been out of order there for the last 3 weeks since the power outage. Unfortunately, we tried to purchase 2 new motors, and I think actually our swimmer over here knows more about this than I do. We tried to...
There's a right long waiting time for new motors. So the 3 motors were taken and tried to rewind them. 1 worked, 2 burnt out right away. So now they are both trying to find out why the rewound motors did not work, and also going ahead and trying to purchase new motors. The new motor timing is quite long, and the part about the rewound motors is still in limbo, but that we should know that within a few days. I, for one, missed the pool drastically. Other questions? Okay, well, just remember, have lots of birthdays, you'll live longer.
I'm getting my shirt up the wall.